जब ज़्यादा बता दो. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Nilay from the INT 2021 batch, and I'm basically going to be explaining to you today what CTF or capture the flag is. So, for a poll right now, like how many of you have ever heard of CTF, capture the flag, or ever tried something? Okay, that's good. For the people who haven't, there's no need to worry. So I'll basically go through what CTFs are, what you do in CTFs, and the types as well. So firstly, it's a cybersecurity event. So when you do CTFs, you'll gain skills that you can use in the cybersecurity domain. And in any CTF, you can either participate individually, solo, or as a team. So teams are usually between 4 to 6 people. Players basically exploit vulnerabilities in the code given to you to find something called the flag, right? So there are two types. Jeopardy is what I'm going to be talking about today. So basically, compared to the presented is a set of questions that guide you. So it's kind of a treasure hunt, but with cybersecurity, stuff with it. And attack and defense is where you have your own host PC which you have to configure so that people can't hack it, and simultaneously you will be a part of a team in which you try to attack someone else's PC to gain access to their system and maybe find a few flags. So now what exactly is a flag? So this can be a flag, this can also be a flag. Okay, this, I hope this makes sense, right? So this can also be another flag, and yeah, essentially I hope you get my point. So basically, in Jeopardy CTFs, the thing that I'm going to be talking about today, competitors are provided challenges to crack, and there are a few categories that are involved in this. So, cryptography, forensics, web exploitation, reverse engineering, binary, and OSINT and miscellaneous. So, how many of you have heard of this term cryptography before? Okay, that's good. So, basically, cryptography is solving cryptographic encryption puzzles based on that. So I'm pretty sure many of you would have in your childhood, used this code language type stuff with your friends. Where you have a certain maybe A corresponds to a dot or something. Morse code, you would have heard of that. So that is basically cryptography. Forensics is in forensic challenges, what you basically get are files or images, and you have to basically extract information from them. So there'll be some hidden information, and there are multiple tools that you can use. Okay. Web exploitation, I think this is self-explanatory. You have a website, you inspect it. So some of you may have heard of this inspect tool that you get on Chrome, Firefox, and essentially the code that goes in making. So the thing that web dev people do, code all these files. Exploiting those files to find some vulnerability is basically web exploitation. Now, reverse engineering is any program that runs. Reverse engineering is where you understand what the program does, again find vulnerabilities in it, and try to exploit it to, in this case, get some flag. Obviously, any of these is ethical hacking. We don't promote unethical hacking, so don't go out and break LMS tomorrow. Now binary exploitation or PWA is essentially reverse engineering on steroids. So you do reverse engineering as well as write code to basically exploit binary files. So you're basically given binary files, and there is this Python library called PWA tools in which you have to write a script to exploit the vulnerability that you find, right? And OSINT. How many of you have stalked some people on Instagram, Discord? I know half of you are lying to me right now, but OSINT is basically open source intelligence. So you use something will be given to you. You go to maybe GitHub, LinkedIn, find their profile. There's something hidden there that you have to use. So on basically GitHub, how commit history and stuff is shown, right? For the people who are versed with GitHub. So commit history is shown, maybe something there that they might have used a year ago, 2 years ago, that maybe is the flag, right? Stalking people on Instagram, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you have done. So, okay, and miscellaneous is miscellaneous. So now let's get into crypto. So the technique of securing information and communications through use of codes. So that so essentially, if I want something that only he should read and none of you should read, I will essentially secure it using some code or an encryption. So can you actually decode this? I'm pretty sure everyone has used it. Everyone has written it.
Hello world.
Exactly.
Caesar cipher?
No, this is actually a ROT 13 cipher. So essentially, oh, is that Caesar?
Yeah.
Rod 13 is just Caesar cipher with 13
13
letters.
Okay, yeah, correct. Yeah, my bad. So essentially, what has happened here is everyone knows that the alphabet is 26 letters, right? So the mapping that is basically done is every letter is pushed ahead by 13. So X becomes U, E becomes R, L becomes Y, and so on. So now let's go to encoding versus encryption. So encoding is basically rewriting data into another type. So there are two types: hex, base 64, some other things. Encryption is rewriting it into another type so that only a certain set of people can read it. So this can be, AES encryption, RSA, where you have, I think, public-private keys, whereas this is very commonly known. So it's just you basically decode it, encode it. You have a lot of tools that can do it. Now, how does this help in industry? So currently RAS and AES are very well used by a lot of companies and stuff. And in fact, in my summer recently, I actually worked with something called post-quantum cryptography. So there is encryptions called dilithium and kyber, which are they are now being developed so that I'm pretty sure you guys would have heard of quantum computers, right?
Yeah.
So there's not a fully developed quantum computer yet, but in case that invention actually happens, then these RSA and AES cipher encryptions will break down, like they'll be easily computable. So a lot of systems might get hacked. That's why the people are coming up with PQC encryptions such as dilithium and kyber. And I won't go into the depths of that because, to be honest, I also am a bit fuzzy on them. So I mean, if you want to do research, want to go back and learn, I can suggest you a few GitHub repositories which deal with them. Now, resources to learn cryptography. So CryptoPals, CryptoHack are two websites. I'll share the slides with you later on, but these are two websites where you can learn the different type of ciphers, the encryptions, as well as I think you'll get challenges to solve. So in fact, I myself am using some of the websites that I'm showing here. Now we come to forensics. As you can see, essentially the analysis of given data files. Now there are multiple things. So steganography, memory dump, packet capture analysis. So there are multiple tools that you'll find online that help with this. So in CTF challenges that I have encountered and come across, basically you usually are given an image and you're supposed to either read the strings data that is actually that is in the back end of the image, or maybe use steganographic tools to figure out. So I know all of this is just me throwing jargon at you, but this is a learning curve. So essentially, when I started, I didn't know any of this existed. I only knew one command, which was strings. So I would do strings image.png, and I would just be met with a lot of rubbish and not know what to do. But as you go on, as you solve challenges, in any challenge, there might be hints provided or write-ups are provided after the CTF. So you'll be like, okay, this is something that I need to learn. Steganographic tools, zsteg, stegseek. Network packet capture is basically done through an application called Wireshark. I agree, all this is a lot of information, but as you get into solving such challenges, it will make more sense. So as I said, yeah, zsteg, steghide, stegseek. So these terminal commands, for the first test that I hear, you don't need to worry. Many of these will be taught to you in your OS course in the 4th sem, but these are not that difficult to understand. I mean, many of you are doing C and Python, right? So like strings would make sense. It's essentially a character array, right? Like a bunch of characters together. So when you do, let's say, strings image.png or any file, the content of that file in strings is outputted out to you. I'll actually show that to you later. This is a very important thing. So essentially, if you use this, grep is basically used to find something in that. So many of you would have, on Wikipedia, if you want to search for something or any website, you would have done Control F, right? That's essentially grep. Control F in terminal is grep. Alright. One more thing with steganography is it can also be used for audio files. So sometimes .wav files are given where it's basically hidden using steganography. I don't actually have an example on that today, but I am confident that if any of you go ahead and trying to do CTFs, then you will definitely encounter this. There are tools online, so there's this thing called Audacity, which is a audio visualizing application. So that is also used for stuff like this, so changing frequencies and stuff like that. And actually with this, in one CTF that I took part in, I encountered where they give us a YouTube video link, and it is just you know how olden TVs had that black and white gray screen, right? When the connection used to go and stuff. It was just that. So you have to download it, you know, extract some info, and something over there led you to the actual flag. Now, web exploitation. So web exploitation, reverse engineering, and binary are three difficult categories, and that doesn't mean you should not do it, but it's something that you will start off not knowing a lot, but as you go on, as you try, as you learn, it will be something that you maybe enjoy more. So web exploitation focuses on finding and exploiting vulnerabilities in web applications. So I'm pretty sure many of you have heard, you know, this website got hacked, a lot of data got leaked and stuff like that. So that is essentially what happens in web exploitation. Obviously here, coming back, we actually do ethical hacking here, and we don't try and do data leaks. So yeah, so steps here are gathering info. So when you're given a website, I'm pretty sure most of us just go to using it directly. In CTFs and cybersecurity challenges, what you do is you actually understand the back end of what is happening on the website. So I'll actually show you how to use the inspect tool and stuff. So many of you would have heard of cookies as well, right? So those can also be exploited, and actually I also demonstrated a challenge where you have to exploit cookies. And the next step is vulnerability. So you identify potential security weaknesses, wherein you can hack into the maybe database or the UI of the web application to actually get to something that would lead you to the flag. And crafting exploits and attacks. So here it's not usually where you have to write code compared to binary, but sometimes you do have to write code. So these are three common ones that I found. There are many more, but you know, going into that would just be an hour-long session where even I would be confused half the times. So actually, let me just. Okay, so XSS attack is basically an attack in which the attacker injects malicious executable scripts into your web application. So what is happening? So basically, when users want to send malicious data onto your website, this is usually what they use. I personally, I've never come across this yet. But this is something I've come across. So SQL is a database language. I'm not sure a lot of you would have heard about it. Again, this will come in your fourth sem for the people who are in their first years or second years. You will learn about SQL and database management. You actually won't learn about SQL injection, but it's essentially wherein attackers use SQL commands to hack into the database. So there is a very common GitHub repository for payloads on SQL. So essentially, some website basically have a user input, so maybe username and password, and over there so if you put admin and admin, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but there is this thing. So essentially if you put dash or 1 equals 1, that essentially tells the SQL backend that you are the root user or the sudo user, or like you get all permissions. So in that case, what happens is you will get access to the entire database, and that leads you to maybe a clue or the entire flag in general. Again, remote code is not something that I have come across, but this is what I found on the internet. Okay, I haven't written it down. Nice. But remote code execution is something that you should research on. Maybe I have personally not come across it, but considering that these were the top 3 that I found, I'm pretty sure it's pretty important. Now we come to tools. So Burp Suite is web vulnerability scanner and proxy tool. So when I said that you basically have to maybe change things in the back end of the website. So there'll be people who use HTML would have heard of like you would have heard about HTTPS, GET,
Yes.
POST, and HEAD, right? So using this, you can change the what is GET, POST, HEAD? It's
Request.
HTTP request. So basically, you can change that for the web application, and changing maybe from post to head would give you the flag. So this is very well used. There is a free version that's available online, so you can take a look at it. And payloads is what I said with respect to SQL injections. So I'll actually show you a GitHub repo that shows a lot of SQL injections that you can actually do with situations as well. So I'll get into that later. Now coming to reverse engineering, this reverse engineering and binary are I would say toughest, because I myself am currently struggling in this, but it's a learning curve. So I'm hoping that one day I won't bash my head against the wall trying reverse engineering questions. So yeah, converting and deconstructing a program into a more readable format. So in this, usually what you're given is you're usually just given a binary file or a program that is running. And what you have to do is you have to understand what the code does and reverse engineer it. So here it's a lot of programming skills. You have to figure out what the code is doing. So you'll in a question that I have actually found or framed as well is you're given a Python program or a C program which does something to an input that is given to it and gives you an output. And you only provided the output and the program. So you have to basically reverse what the program has done and get the flag. So this is used. So many people would have played games, right, that are cracked. I'm pretty sure none of you have downloaded GTA 5 by paying for it actually. So what essentially happens here is that they reverse engineer to understand what the program does, and then find a vulnerability there through which they can provide those cracked games. Yeah, so very often you're usually given a binary code of a piece of software which you are supposed to reverse engineer and get this. This is a very common tool, GHydra. So when you're given a binary file, you obviously can't open it, right? Because it just usually shows you jargon. It won't even open in VS Code, and you can only run it. So how do you understand where the source code is? Like, how do you understand what the program actually does? If you're just given, like if you execute it, like how you don't see, right, ./a.out. If you're given a.out executable and you're told that figure out what the code does, how are you going to do it? So GHydra is something that helps you decompile and disassemble that code. So this is something that is very useful, and I've used it a lot. IDA is something that one of my friends actually told me to use. Apparently this is better than this. I haven't used it, but it's apparently popular, and he said that a lot of people in his CTF team use that compared to GHydra. Yeah, so as I said, it takes a lot of patience to be skilled at it because you need to develop your programming skills, which is probably why I'm struggling at it, to be honest. But you'll have to essentially read the code, understand what happens, take time, compared to something like OSINT where you just have to blatantly Google and figure out what you're doing. This will be a much more skilled task. And yeah, so CTF 101 is not just a site for reverse engineering. You can learn each and everything there. There's reverse engineering, forensics, binary, web exploitation. There's a lot of resources, articles here. So I would suggest this is one of the sites that you should start on. Now crackme's.1 and challenges.re are two websites that have countless number of questions. So in fact, I'll actually just show you crackme's.1. Okay, wait, actually no. So I'll have to log in here. I'll actually go to this. So yeah, these are all questions, like 1, 2, 3, 4, every single one is a question. But I mean, there's no need to worry. There's about the website some exercises in his book for beginners and in his blog and stuff. So you can take a look at this. I am honestly currently reading it right now because I actually found this website a few weeks ago itself. So maybe go through this, go through CTF 101, take your time and learn it, because reverse engineering is something that will take time. And if you are interested and you have time to, since you have time to learn and explore, genuinely go through this. It will help you in your programming skills as well. Now we come to binary, right? So this is one of the most challenging categories. So as I said, this is reverse engineering on steroids. So you'll basically be doing what you're doing in reverse engineering, but with code. Like you'll actually be having to find a vulnerability, use your programming skills to code something that exploits that vulnerability, and then get the flag. So again, this tests your skills in understanding the inner workings. So you'll probably be using GIDRA here as well, understanding the source code, finding out what in that source code is wrong, rather than in reverse where you're just trying to reverse what the code does. You have to find out what is that vulnerability that you can actually target and mess with, so that you get the flag. Now there's a lot of steps here. Oh, my bad, sorry. So analyzing the given binary by looking at the compiled program. So as I said, right, any binary file that are given, you can convert it into an executable using a command which is chmod. It's basically chmod plus x and the file name to give it executable permissions, which again you will learn in your OS course, so don't worry about it. Then, as I said, vulnerability identification, where you have to look at, so many a times for the at least beginner level questions, right, it's something called segmentation fault. So if you have an integer variable, you can't pass like 20 billion to it, right? It will not work because it has certain limit. I think it's around I don't remember exactly the number, but it's if you go over the the limit, then it basically will give you a segmentation, not segmentation fault issue, but it will give you an overflow issue. Segmentation fault is also a very important thing. So incorrect memory management, buffer overflows are something that come in vulnerability identification, but it's not limited to that. As you go ahead, it will be more it will be probably a combination of these more difficult tasks. And then once you figure out these vulnerabilities, you go to write your code to actually exploit these vulnerabilities. Personally, I've never solved a binary question, so I am not the person for this, but there are people that I've come across who are willing to have sessions here for us, so I would suggest you attend them to learn, because I myself would be attending them as well. And so once you actually, coming back to crafting express, once you actually have this code, right, the Python file or whatever that you've created to actually exploit this, you would try it locally in your environment. So the binary file that is given to you may or may not be the same thing that is there remotely hosted. So sometimes what they do is they give you a binary file which has the flag redacted, right? And let's say you pass admin to the binary file to get the password. This doesn't mean admin will work on the remote server, because they might have different perms. But what you're doing here should work there, in the sense the exploit that you're using here should work there. So whatever your code is should work both locally as well as remotely. It's just that the small case-wise typical case that you use may or may not work. Tools for this, as I said, PWN tools, it's a super important Python library. So if anyone's interested, do read up on this. I agree, it's a bit daunting because I myself am struggling with it, but it's something that if you are skilled at, it will help you a lot. So with respect to cybersecurity in general, one of the speakers who would come for a session later on in this month itself is actually working in cybersec, and he essentially told me that if you have a CTF background, it helps a lot in people who are searching for bugs and bug hunters, to be specific. So this is something that binary exploitation is something that I would suggest you maybe start with. You might struggle a lot, but it's as I said, a learning curve. And GDB, GNU debugger, it's used for debugging and analyzing binaries. This can in fact be used in reverse engineering as well. So take a look at this as well. And yeah, common tools. Windows is also used. Okay, it's not that only Linux can be used, but Kali Linux is one of the most popular OSs. Doesn't mean you have to triple boot your laptop or something to have Kali Linux. Ubuntu also works. I've till now only used Ubuntu. I've never installed Kali Linux, but that is something that is used by many people because they have their own inbuilt tools to help people who are taking part in CTFs. Gidra I already mentioned. Wireshark, as I mentioned in forensics, is a packet analyzer for network-related challenges. So these are common tools that you should take a look at. I'm not forcing whoever wants to be on Windows to definitely change to Linux, but it's something that you would definitely be happy with using because you use terminal a lot more when you're on Linux than you're on Windows, right? So Windows PowerShell has many commands that are different to what regular CTF users use. So when you're reading write-ups, it might be a bit confusing to you as well. So now that I gave you a lot of gyan, you are like, okay, this guy's just spitting random stuff at me. I don't even know, like I just know CTF is capture the flag, where do I even start? Pico CTF, the best website. Honestly, this is where I started. Google it now itself and make an account. Pico CTF is one of the most basic websites for you to get started with CTF. That's where I got started, and Pico CTF usually has their CTF contest in around March every year. So in fact, that's where my journey started with CTFs. I started with Pico CTF 2023, and we actually were able to solve about 1/3 of the questions there as a team. So that is something that you should definitely look at. And in fact, I will demonstrate a few challenges right now itself. Now, you will be like, this is CTF, right? How does it actually help me? So you can learn cybersec on these two websites as well. So these are not just centered towards CTF and CTF competitions. These also give you, respect to attack and defense, as I mentioned. This will also teach you how to, learn those things. So try Hack Me and Hack the Box. I would genuinely say make an account, start today itself. When you get free time, just go through their courses and stuff, because they have a lot of free courses here that you can understand cybersecurity and attack and defense CTFs. So I would suggest for now, for starters, Pico CTF and these two. All these websites, start slowly. I am currently learning binary exploitation from this website. So start with this and slowly. I mean, it's not in order. Choose whatever. Choose another one. When like okay, I'm getting a bit bored with Pico CTF. Yeah. So yeah. Are my slide share? So okay, now let's say you learned something. Where do I give CTF competitions? One of the best websites again for this is CTF Time, where you can, and I have actually done this, to get speakers here. Is I went and stalked the top 10 teams in India and just blatantly contacted them, saying, hey, I'm trying to get people interested in CTF in my college, and would you be down to help me with maybe having a session as well as organizing a CTF? So I'll show you CTF Time. I don't know if there's another slide after this. No, I forgot to add it. So this is essentially CTF Time. So here, if you see, upcoming is basically the CTF contests that are coming up in the near future, and it's a long list. It just goes on, and these are all the way up till December. Some CTFs are not even registered here. They'll come up, because they have the dates haven't been decided yet. And if you want to see some things that are running, so there are currently 3 CTFs that are running right now. So this one started actually today itself. For some reason it's in UTC, but it basically started at around I think 12:30 or 1:30 PM, and it will go until I think 10 o'clock. I'm not really sure the transition between the time zones, but yeah. Let's say if you go to this JU CTF, right? You'll get all the details. So the official URL is this. So you can go to their. Okay, never mind. But this is basically their website. This is where you can log in and start hacking the challenges there. Usually for communications there's a Discord server. So honestly, if you could get yourself well versed with Discord right now itself, that would be a very good thing, because Zense is also moving way more towards Discord. So we'll actually be having a lot of the announcements there with respect to CTFs as well as other events. Any communication on CTF is usually through Discord because they don't use anything else, and people would not like to share their WhatsApp, right? So since this was in a language we don't understand, I'll see if this makes sense. Yeah, so they'll list the prices, they'll list what time it's going to start. This is actually a qualification for a CTF that goes on to become offline. So in fact this week there's a CTF called DEFCON CTF whose qualification already happened, and now one of the people who is potentially going to be having a session is currently at that CTF with his team IRISSec. So yeah, this is pretty much about CTF time. Do go take a look at it. Go figure out your way through this. I'm not going to give a hands-on with what is CT, like what is there in the archives and all that stuff. Take a look on your own time. There's no point going over it right now. Just spend your own time on it. Figure out the websites that I've mentioned. Don't go through all at the same time. You will be overwhelmed. Just start off with Pico CTF. Try Hack.me. Once you are comfortable with giving a few challenges, come to CTF time and either find a team or just try solo and meet people on Discord who you might form a team with. It need not be people in this campus or in India itself. So yeah, that's pretty much my presentation. But now what I'll do is I'll actually make a Pico CTF account, and we'll actually solve a few. We'll actually have a run through with a few questions. I don't remember my user ID. Bad में yeah, so I hope all of you are on Pico CTF. Maybe have you guys made your account yet?
Just a minute.
Yeah, take it.
We have to use our college email or our own email.
You can use your own. Mine is my own email. I don't think it really matters. This is something where you get to learn about challenges, so it doesn't really matter. And I don't think they have, like how Figma has a pro thing. I don't think there's a pro thing, so it's not an issue. So ignore the fact that I've solved these basic questions. I will go through them again for you guys. So just let me know when you guys are ready, okay, with your user IDs. What player type? I remember now. I mean, you are a university student, right? Are you a middle school student?
Code क्या है? 5601.
water. I mean, it won't be. That's self-explanatory. Okay, so this is, I mean, I hope you all are ready, or do you still want time? You need time, or like you need help? I mean, you've not put any detail. You're a robot. Okay, so I hope a few of you are ready. So this is the easiest question because CTF. Just try it on your own. If you're not able to get it, I will do it ultimately. But considering that 193,000 people have solved it, I think this should be, doable. This is JE, but like without JE. I mean, this is a 4-year-old can solve this.
Where to find this question?
That's the first question. Just go to practice and Pico Gym practice challenges.
Yeah, obedient cat, right?
Yeah, it's the first. Done. So you just opened the file, right? Essentially. Exactly. So one more thing I want to actually show you with this is, see, opening the file will directly show you the flag. Okay, but sometimes instead of doing that, it's actually better if you use like strings or cat. It's a command basically. So why is this customer? Okay, yeah. So cat flag will do the same thing, right? So cat essentially will give you what the contents are as well as strings. So sometimes your file, like, it may not open, but these two are commands that you can use to get what is there in the file. Okay. So I hope this was an easy question. If any of you struggled, I'm a bit worried. But yeah, so this was a general skills question. Okay, so this is like me asking you whether you can say a word in your native language. That's like the easiest thing that you can do. So try this question. This question, I mean, yes, 100,000 people have solved it, but it might require you to look at the man page of Python and stuff. And also one thing is, for many questions, hints will be provided. So if you are a bit confused as to where your next step should be, do look at hints. Maybe that gives you an idea. Because a lot of the times I myself wasn't able to understand what I'm supposed to do. I looked at the hint and I'm like, okay, maybe this is something that I really need to learn. And we'll actually look at a question that specifies this, like the fact that you might sometimes need to use hints to figure out. And in fact, in Pico CTF these are free. In CTF competitions they charge you points for it, which you will get to know soon enough. Anyone done with this? Or let me just able to do this till now? I'll give you guys time till 5, 6. Bharat, are you able to do it?
I forgot the command.
Also, maybe take a look at what is mentioned actually in the scripts as well, okay? Because there might be something mentioned. So, do take a look at what is there.
Using this process for command.
And in fact, right now itself, you don't need to work on it on your own laptop. You can work on it as teams as well. Okay, so keep that in mind, because CTF is something that will get you to bash your head on the wall if you're trying everything solo. It's always much easier to learn in teams. So. But I can't solve this. So, anyone able to solve it till now? No? Do you want more time or?
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Like module not found errors.
Module not found.
Module
Usage is coming.
Show me the code.
मध्ये
Where is cryptography?
Showing this in showing the file.
What is cryptography is actually available from
Check the version.
You're not able to run the file.
We can do it in the web shell, right?
Yeah, actually, just try and do it in the web shell itself, because I mean it's running on mine and I have an Ubuntu system, so maybe it's something to do with Windows. I'm not really sure. I'm not too sure about why it's not working, but I'll actually try it here itself. So yeah, maybe do this in your web shell, just wget command. Maybe that will work. And the second clue is basically man Python, so maybe there's a clue to that. So I actually do. So okay, so this is your Python script, right, for what the code is actually doing. So the reason I mentioned to actually open the script, which unfortunately for you is not working, is because of this message. Usage is system.out.0 plus e-manage/file, right?
Does
So
it tell in the initially it says that you have to pass an argument?
when you run the Python. Exactly.
First they ask for argument, and after they get enter, they ask for the password.
Yeah, so that's why they have provided two files to you, right? Otherwise, like, I mean, so essentially when you're running the Python script, you have to pass this, like the two of them in a certain order to get the file, right? So here they've actually mentioned that, you know, you have to use it this way. So I think it's mentioned below as well, what you have to exactly do. So yeah, please use -E, -D or -H to actually solve this. So I think if I remember correctly,
It's -D.
it's -E or -E both work, I think.
No, -E is for encryption, right?
Yeah, true, but for some reason it worked on this. I tried both. I don't remember the other ones. What are the other two? This.
pw.txt and
This is your password, right? And
Yeah.
what's the other one?
flag.txt.en.
Yeah.
This is flag.
You need to pass the flag.txt as a file.
Wait, what? Okay, sorry. Not bad. I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, and then the password, right? So, and there we go. So basically what you did here was you looked at what exactly you're supposed to do when you're running the Python file. So the Python file end.py essentially told you that you have to basically run the Python file this way. This I think is mentioned -E, -D, -H is mentioned in man Python, which is why they gave this clue here, saying that you have to maybe use the man Python command to figure out what is going on. So sometimes it's not actually bad to use hints. If they're free, I would say always use them, because there are sometimes in which case, like there was this question where I had something called a CNC encryption and something called G code, which I had never heard of in my life. So taking hints is not bad when you're learning. Sometimes you actually have to take it because you don't understand what is going on, and that's also totally fine. So I hope this made sense to you. And let's just move on from general skills to something that is more category specific. So which category do you guys prefer doing first from any of these, except uncategorized?
Web exploit.
Cryptography.
One for web, one for crypto. Web.
Forensics.
Okay. I don't have enough hands.
Web.
Web. Anyone else with any other choice? Okay, fine. Let's go for it. So I won't do the first. I'll just do some that I remember to solve too, because I don't want to spend unnecessary time. So I'm pretty sure you've heard of this on websites. Try it. There are no hints this time, so try maybe looking at what the cookies are. Try if you can change them. Maybe something will work. So I'll just actually open the website. So and I'll show you what's going on. So yeah, the first thing that I thought of doing here when I had started was typing snickerdoodle itself. And it gave me this. So that is a cookie, not very special though. So it means that it has something to do with cookies. Maybe I don't know. Maybe try chocolate chip or something if that works. But so essentially, the solve is you have to put in a certain value or maybe do something to the cookies in the web in the application, and the flag will be displayed here. And that's pretty much all I can tell you without leaking the actual answer itself.
Every cookie you change.
Do discuss, like, maybe someone's idea might work better than what you've thought. Maybe your idea will work better. it's not too challenging till now, right? Or is it?
Little bit.
I mean, don't worry. Like you're in your first years, bro. You have like a lot of time. This session happened for us when we were in our like fourth sem almost, like third sem end. Like I think a month before our end sems, right? Yeah. So you have a lot of time in your first year to explore. So that's why I thought of having this, for everyone. But like, if you guys could, start off initially itself, you have way more time where you can learn and enhance your skills by the time you reach where we are right now. I'll also give you a chance to learn cybersec, and if that's interesting to you, that's something you can pursue later as well. Any headway, any ideas on what you should do?
We should go
Use
for
document
manage
or
cookies.
cookie and change the name.
1%.
We manage our own, look at manage cookies.
Okay, maybe.
Use the console and then change the document dot cookie to it's written in the form of name equal to some number.
Okay.
So just till now what I've tried, it goes up till 26 or something.
Okay.
The 26 names which are actually working.
Okay.
About
Can you actually
20%.
just come here and do that video? So you're both of you are correct. So here, if you actually go, so this is basically the inspect function, right? You right click on the website and view page source is the HTML and CSS that is gone on behind this page. Inspect is basically everything that is there on this page, including the memory usage, the CSS, the HTML, the cookies that are being used and stuff. So here in application is basically where you will see your cookies. So if I click this, yeah. So you actually change values. Can you come here and show it, because I actually just did something here that would give me the answer. So
Yeah, so what you can do is just type document.cookie. So what this does is, this is having like from this you can modify the cookie variables which are present in your which are being stored in that website. So right now you can see that it has currently stored name equals 0. So I just wanted to try like let's say what would happen if, let's say, I type name equals to 10, just to see what would happen, and then refresh the page. It now shows a different cookie type. So I went on trying like this to let's say how many of the names or usernames are present. So let's say I try 30, but now what will happen is it will show that there isn't a cookie like this, or there isn't a user mentioned with this thing.
okay, so you essentially did what I was doing, but using the console, right?
Yeah.
So what I did was I just went here and did the most basic method of doing it.
Yeah.
I went here and changed it to like 10, 15,
Yeah.
and then refresh the page. Essentially what he's doing is the same. You can actually have to go back. So essentially what he did was the same thing that I was doing, but in a more programmer way, to be honest. You said it goes until 26, right?
28.
28. So you definitely missed the flag then. So what I did was I went brute force. I went 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and at 18, which is what you missed out on, is the flag. So you went pretty far, but yeah. Okay, so you can change cookies here as well as using the console method that he used, which is something that I learned today. So hey, you learn something new every day, and yeah, if you enter that, I think it will work. I mean, I can just put it again if you want. So yep, I have solved it correctly again. So now, since I have told you the inspect tool, do this on your own. This doesn't need help from me, because he said that it requires meditation. So, and also one more thing I would like to point out is whenever you're doing CTF challenges, right, read these two things. the title and the description. There are a lot of clues that can be found here. So in the previous one it was cookies. So you thought that maybe there's something to do with cookies. Here it's inspector, may need inspection, maybe it's something to do with the inspect tool that is there on websites. So take a look at it. I think this is easier than the previous one. So let me know when you're done with this. I'll explain it still, but I think this is way more easier than the cookies one, because there you have to manually go through 1 till 18 to actually figure out, and maybe go to 26 and then realize that.
You could write a Python script to automate that for you, right? Brute force stuff.
Yeah, you could. I mean, it's only till 18, so it's not that bad. If it's still like 20,000, then it would take me a few days to get there, because I would procrastinate. But yeah, this is much easier. So alright, done.
Oh, done. I guess.
Done.
There's a partial flag.
Yeah, it's a partial.
You guys are done? I was just actually just come closer, interact with people and solve the challenges together. It is like, I mean, you might not be able to solve the challenge on your own, but if you sit with someone else, you'll maybe learn. So see again, how do you inspect code on a website? And there are 3 parts. So what's your name by the way?
Pramatha.
Pramatha. And the guy behind you? What's your name?
Sneha.
Sneha. Other than you two, anyone else is done? Or oh, you're not. Just go to inspect, figure your way out over there.
Yeah, sources. Yeah, it is okay.
Okay, so when I go to the website, it shows this, right? That the person made a website, and it says here that he used 3, languages. So, and it's also mentioned to inspect, and in the hint they mentioned 3 parts, right? So maybe it has something to do with HTML, CSS, and JS, because 3 coincidence or link. I mean, it could be anything. So here, when you go to sources, it actually shows you the scripts that are used here. So if I go to index, right? Index is the HTML file. I'll actually drag this to be better. So just read it. You'll see that this is there here, which is the first half of your code, the first half of your flag. Okay, now I don't know where the second half is. Maybe I just look at the other 2 files. Oh, the third part is here. So okay, I don't know where the second part is. Let's go here. Let's scroll down. And yep, the second part is here. So connect all the 3. That's your flag. So this is essentially a basic web exploitation guide as to what the main easiest things to look at are, such as inspect and sources and cookies. So anytime I try a web exploitation challenge, the first thing I do is I read the title description very well if there are any hints. Then I go to inspect, I look at sources, I look at the storage, basically the application in this case. On Firefox it says storage, it's the same thing. And I try to figure out if there is something that can help me, right? So these are the 2 most basic questions that I could get. This, if you want, you can try now, but I would say, go due to time constraints, just go back, try solving a few more questions. And then you probably will end up with something that looks like just 1 question not submitted, which I for some reason haven't gotten yet. But let's move on to the second thing was someone said crypto, right? Or do you want to do forensics first? Crypto forensics. Okay, now I'm hearing crypto. So, okay. See, the point of this right now is to do the easiest questions so that you have, basic understanding of what exactly the easiest questions are. After that is, you put your time and effort into going through few questions. Crypto is not that easy compared to what we've done till now. As you can see that I have not solved a few attacks questions here, because even after looking at the write-ups, they've not made sense to me. So I've thought of going back and looking at them. So this is, I'll just download the file and show it to you because that won't expose anything. So this is your PNG. See, any CTF will have these two things, right? To depict that it's a flag. So this indicates that it's a flag. Now you figure out what you can do.
A1 Z26.
Yep. So how did you actually go about doing that? Did you analyze this or did you just?
The first is P and the flag type is Pico.
Perfect. So if you look at it, PICO, CTF, you can see that this is 3, which corresponds to C when you look at A1 and Z is 26. So if you so for this you can either manually do it, sit and do it, or just copy the codes down, write a simple Python script to convert from the number to the corresponding letter in the alphabet, and you will get your flag. So I'm not doing that because it's a very easy thing to do. And the other question that I wanted to do here was substitution 0. So try this. It's again pretty simple because it's said as to be a substitution cipher, and substitution is essentially what we did in the first part as well. You substitute A with 1, C with 3 and all that, right? So this is your text message. Yeah. Figure it out.
Which channel?
Substitution 0.
Where it is?
Which category?
Section.
Cryptography.
It's on page 2.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone able to figure something out? I know. It's actually not if you know website to do it, but okay. I haven't told you the website yet, so.
Online
Yes and no. Online decoders there are thousands of them. So, but there's a very specific website that you can. There are two very specific websites that you can use for cryptography that help you out much easier. Like instead of sitting and figure out what the cipher is, it will help you. It will just tell you what the cipher is. So, hello. So, anyone able to do it, or do you want some help?
The flag is
Okay, that's a good observation.
DSU.
This is your flag.
Yeah, that is a flag. D with D and
Yeah,
S
the
with
flag
X.
is Pico CTF something. Yeah.
I also did. वो भी हो गया था मेरा.
Observation हो गया, solve हुआ है. The point is to solve. The point is not observations. Observations is very good, but the point is to solve. Actually, I think without giving you the See, maybe, I mean, I don't think you'll be able to figure out what the cipher is called. So without getting the site, I think this is difficult. So I'll actually go for it. So
Is it mono substitution?
Yes, this is more.
Yeah, mono
exactly.
Mono-alphabetic.
Yeah, cool. So if you see the first line, right? I mean, I'm not expecting you to sit and count, but it's actually 26 letters. So essentially what they've done is they've represented A as O, B as H, C as N, which is called a mono alphabetic substitution cipher. So there is this website called decode.fr. I am not expecting any of you to have heard about it. I heard about this around 2 weeks into actually doing CTFs. So this is a French website, so it might initially load up in this. So a very important tool here is cipher identifier. Okay, it's not showing up.
This is cipher identifier by boxing.
Not good. Not good.
So this, if you put any of your ciphertext here, right, there is no guarantee that what it outputs is correct, but usually it has a very high accuracy. So if I just, I'm lazy, I just do Control A, Control C and just copy it here and analyze it, it'll tell me that it's a Wigner cipher, right? And let me actually test this
It's
because
not Wigner cipher, right?
I know, but I think they're like this. Let me just see. Accuracy is not very high today. So if you actually go to monoalphabetic substitution, and here you will have to change the substitution alphabet used because this is a very common one, but this is not the one that's used here. The one that's used here is actually this. And instead of putting the entire thing, right, you can just put the flag directly. Oh, wait. Okay, what? There we go. So when I clicked decrypt automatically first, so it gave me a different output. But when I used the substitution alphabet that they've used, I got the Pico CTF flag directly. So this is a website that is very useful for cryptography questions because sometimes you will get something that makes no sense to you, and putting it here in the cipher identifier here will just make life easy for you.
Yes, sir, done.
So yeah, this is something that I would suggest you use, but it won't. I'm not guaranteeing that it will always give you correct answer as well as the right answer. Sometimes people also challenges are also in a way that using it only once will not give you the answer. You'll actually have to look at a lot of ciphers here to actually get the correct one. So actually one CTF that determined the top 3 positions, actually the top 2. So one guy in the dying minutes in CTF, in the last 5 minutes, went through all the ciphers that were here, found one that worked and nabbed first place in the last 5 minutes. So, and I think because of that, our team actually came 4th. So we were pretty pissed off at him. So yeah, that can happen. So let's actually go to forensics because with forensics, right? This is question 4. Yeah. So I'll actually tell you of a command that will be required for this. It's called binwalk. Just take 5 minutes. Look at what the binwalk command is because I don't think you'll be able to solve it without that. Binwalk is basically tells you what the contents of that file are. So in images, sometimes what you can do is you can actually hide a txt file or another image or something like that. So how many of you have heard of this term, Matryoshka dolls?
It's a Russian dog. Similar to the Russian dog.
Yeah, it's the one where exactly. It's the one where once you open it, it becomes like there are smaller versions. So, what does this give you a clue of?
There is a
There is a
clue hidden
file
inside
inside
a
a
clue
file.
hidden inside a clue.
Exactly.
inside a clue.
So they've given an image, right? So if I actually download this image, I actually have to download for this. So the image is called this, right? Okay, yeah, it's called dolls.jpg. Okay, nice. Anyways, so from the question you can figure out that it's something hidden inside this file, right? Dolls.jpg. So binwalk is something that will tell you what is there. I don't know if binwalk is there on this PC, but okay, I'll just install it. Okay, I don't have his password, but for the people that are here as well as people online, just install it. I don't know his password, so I can't. But binwalk-e. Binwalk will show you the file contents, as in if there's any hidden, is there any files that are hidden inside this. With this specific question, I'm confident that there is, because there's no other way to solve the question. And binwalk-e will basically extract those files. So figure out how long you have to do it until you actually get the flag, and let me know once you're done.
Basically, it takes up a lot of memory. It takes up around.
Just delete the files after you're done. For this it won't, I don't like some questions you actually can't do this because it takes a lot of this. So don't worry about that. I hope you have more than 10 MB available. I mean, if you don't, then I don't know what you have worth, whatever that space is.
It's asking for 600 megabytes of storage.
Hey, come on.
Binwalk.
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, do you want to solve the question or not? I mean, if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. I'm not forcing you to, but there are tools that would even require 1 to 2 GB. So 600 MB is half of that. I thought actually asking about the image, because there was one question that they gave something to download, and when she clicked on downloading it, it went to 6,200 petabytes, and that's physically not possible to have on a laptop or a PC. So it was just basically you can't download the file, figure out something else. So I just gave up.
How do we extract a file from the image?
Oh yeah, so you use this to actually see it, right?
No. He's asking how to extract the zip from the binwalk.
Yeah, that is a zip file.
It is a zip file.
Yeah, so use binwalk-e
Yeah.
and the zip file.
Done.
So then, oh yeah, you haven't learned OS, right? So CD is to change directory. So you will have a file something like underscore extracted something. So just write CD underscore extracted and click tab, so it will autocomplete, and that will move you to the other. So actually I'll show you with what is there here, right? So if I do CD ... these are all the directories that are there in his main, in his home page, right? So if I do CD documents, it moves to that. So when you do binwalk-e on any of the images etc. that are there, it will create a directory with that extracted stuff. So in this case, you'll have to change directory to move into it. So I'll actually tell you that since I can't solve it, once you extract this, you get basically another image in the extracted files, which will say 1.jpg, 2.jpg, 3.jpg, and 4.jpg. I think 4 is where you end up solving it. So, I mean, since I can't show it, I'll move on to the next question. But that's this question is essentially to get you to figure out how to use CD, binwalk, and how that tool works, right? So for the next question, try this, Glory of the Garden.
Glory of the Garden.
Yeah. So how many of you have heard about hexadecimal? Hex. So your images are essentially written in hex, like they have hex data. So you can edit the hex data on an image by using this thing called ghex or hexedit or gedit. So there's on Ubuntu, I think it's inbuilt. I'm not really sure about Windows. So maybe try this question. Take a look at it. Take a look at the hint also if you want. So the hint here points to what is a hex editor. So maybe look that up, or since I've actually mentioned it, so you can just look at ghex, how to use it with images. So So gedit again does the same thing as this. Okay, what is going on? Okay, so I think this is again a question that you'll have to try on your own because he doesn't have gx or gedit. I can actually maybe show it to you on my laptop. So I don't know if you can see this. Can you read it or is it invisible?
No.
अभी दिख रहा है क्या? So if I do hex edit with the image,
Okay, we'll work with gedit.
अरे मेरे सिस्टम में अलग है इसलिए. Yeah, so ghex, gedit, they'll open this thing, right? I don't know how many of you have it on your systems. So basically sometimes, the image headers, okay, so your .jpg file or .png, or there's something called .bmp as well. So all this will be mentioned here. So there are questions where you have to change these header files to actually access the image. So in fact there was one question where the file that they gave was .png, but it was actually not .png. They had just labeled it as .png. So you had to actually change the headers of this to what it reflects as JPG, and then only you could access the image, which then showed the flag, right? So here, if you scroll down, the flag here. So this is a lot of just jargon that you don't actually need to understand. But if you go all the way to the bottom, it says here is a flag. And the flag is here. Here is the flag. The flag is here. It's contradictory, but yeah. So ghex, gedit are basically tools that let you understand the hex data that is there for your image, and that is pretty much how you solve this challenge. So with forensics, with images especially, gedit, hexedit or ghex are things that you should definitely take a look at once you get the question. And yeah,
Bhaiya, can't we use an online hex editor?
There is
You
online
can.
website.
yeah, so you can do that as well. So I prefer to just do things on terminal because sometimes internet issues are there and stuff. So if you want to have it on a system, if you feel it's too much space, as he said that 600 MB is too much for him, then you can use online editors. So I hope all of you have done the question. If you haven't, you can go back and take your time to do it. Now let's go to reverse engineering, because as I said, this is one of the tougher things to do. So okay, so coming back to what I said about hints, right? So is it this question or is it the other one? Yeah. So yeah, it's this question. So essentially, this is your remote server.
Netcat.
Okay. NC is basically netcat. So they use this to connect with your server. So now if I enter, this is terminal, right? So this gives me all this stuff, which makes no sense. Like, have you ever read something like G1Z0.1? So when I first came up with this question, this made no sense to me. So I was like, okay, I don't understand what is going on. Maybe let's look at the hint. So what language does CNC machine use? So I'm stumped here as well, because I don't even know what a CNC machine is. So I did what any random programmer would do, is I copied this, I opened a new tab, I googled it. Simple. And it said that it uses something called G code. So I was like, okay, so maybe all this content that is there, maybe I store it and use it in some G code editor, compiler or something on online. So I actually went to a G code compiler. So yeah, a CNC program simulator. So essentially what G code does is it apparently outputs whatever the code that we got here essentially maps to something here. So what I did was I just did the netcat command. Okay, wait. So I took the netcat thing, and since I know OS more than you guys, I use this thing to
Send it out.
store. Okay. Sorry. I use this to send all the output that is there to a file that is output.txt. So if I do cat output.txt, it will show whatever was there, right? Now I'll just open output.txt. So this is your output.txt file. It is essentially the G code that is there. And then what I did was, since this is a program simulator, I made a new file here, and I said, you know what, let's just try this and let's plot it and see what happens. So this is, I was actually fascinated by this the first time I saw it. So this is apparently what CNC machines use. I don't remember what CNC machines are, but this is something that so sometimes using hints you learn something. So G code is something that never knew existed. I didn't even know CNC machines existed. But yeah, you will learn a lot while you're doing CTF problems, which are completely out of the domain that you've been exploring or something. So yeah, this is one of the questions that I wanted to try. Another thing was, another thing you should try is vault door 1. So I know Java is something that many of you may not have looked at till now, but just download the file and take the help of Google, figure out how to solve this question. The reason I'm skipping to vault door 1 is because vault door 0 is essentially the Java file with the flag written in it. So it's just whether you can read or not. So there's no point in doing that. So just skip to Waldorf 1. It actually uses something called complicated arrays, but actually you all haven't reached arrays and stuff in C, right? Okay, but has anyone not heard of arrays at all, like zero programming background or something? Because there are. Do you know what an array is? Okay. Yeah. So, like, it says that use some complicated arrays. Look at the Java file. Look at the code, and I'm not going to ask you to sit and write a code right now. But if you figure out what is actually happening, just shout it out, and we can go ahead from there.
Just open the source code.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, show it here.
No, what I meant is opening the source code itself will give the answer.
Yeah. So reversing. This is one of the most basic questions, right? So essentially, as I mentioned while showing the slides. So here, so in reverse engineering, you will get your source code or maybe a file, and you have to essentially understand what the source code is doing, and do the reverse of what the source code is doing. Right? So here, the password length is 32, and it specifies something called a char add function. So in fact, the hint for this question was actually what is a char add function in Java. So I'll, instead of just this, I'll directly tell you that if you have an array, say indexed from 0 till 31, right? So the char at 0 essentially points to the first element. So char at 20 will point to the 29th element. The char at 4 will be the fourth element. So essentially what this is doing is the password that you're passing, it will check whether these are correct. What you have to do to get the password is essentially do the reverse of this. So you will have to look, okay, 0 is D, then something else is like 1 will be there somewhere, right? Yeah, 1 is here. So D, 3, something. So when you actually do it, I think you get D code or something like that. I'll just Google it because I'm too lazy to actually sit and figure out 31 of where they actually align. So yeah. So this is the code that we have, right? This is exactly the code that we have. So what they've done is, so they made a Python script to solve the challenge, basically by doing the same thing that is there in the code, but just writing it in a better way and just passing it out as with this, because CTF, if you look, is not mentioned here. So you'll have to add that part of the string to it, and this is what you get. Descramble the characters is your flag. So in reverse engineering, this is the simplest question. Is basically you have to understand what the code is doing with something that they have, and reversing the encryption, whatever they've done in the code to actually get your flag. So this is essentially a gist of how Pico CTF works. These are your categories. So Pico CTF 2022, 2023. This is actually some CTF that I took part in. And there have been others that are there. Because in 2024, with I think be in March next year. So since you have time now, maybe you can start learning CTF and aim for doing well in because in 2024. Yeah, so this is a site that you can use to learn as well. So there are resources. There's an entire community. I think they have their own Discord as well. So they have monthly YouTube lectures on intro to cybersecurity principles and stuff like this. So do explore this, and that is pretty much it for today. I know it's been a bit too overwhelmed with, you'll use OS concepts, you'll have to learn things that you've never seen before or used before. But CTF is, so with anyone who I've ever conversed with regarding to CTF, they've always said that CTF is a rabbit hole where once you get in, it's so fascinating that you will probably dig all the way till the end, till the core of the earth. And I'm kind of struggling to get my head out of that rabbit hole right now. But it's something that I'm passionate about. I know it's been just me giving a lot of info today, but if any of you are actually genuinely interested, I'm super down to help you guys out on the initial journey and maybe even learn together. So get started with Pico CTF, and in fact, so I've actually arranged for a CTF contest tonight, or if you wanted, we can have it tomorrow. I will prefer having it today itself because I want to actually go home tomorrow. So I can, since it's 6 now, I'll actually give you an hour break, and I'll release the domain on Discord as well as on WhatsApp, and you can log in there and try this. So okay, one second. So we have the site loaded, but yeah, so ctf@iitv.net. Currently you won't be able to solve any challenges because the time is set to 7 o'clock, so it'll say that it's forbidden, but do check out all this, follow us on social media. Please join the Discord. Majority of our announcements are going to be there, so please do stay active there. And I will open the CTF at 7 today, and it's actually scheduled to end at 12, but in case any of you guys want to try for more time, then I will extend it because it's an introductory CTF. And yeah, so in the coming weeks, hopefully next Sunday and the Sunday after that as well, there are sessions organized by us. So a fellow CTF player as well as cybersec enthusiast in PES University in Bangalore itself will actually come in person and explain more about reverse engineering and web exploitation. So that will be way more in depth compared to what we had today, and he has a much better idea than I do. So it will be a learning experience for all of us here, as well as people from the Pacific time zone are actually going to be having an online session on his experiences in the cybersecurity domain, because he's actually working in the cybersecurity domain, as well as his experience giving challenges, CTF competitions IRL with the team. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. This is an introductory CTF. Even if this was very overwhelming for you, I would suggest you take part in this. Try a few challenges. It might develop your interest. And if you have any questions, any doubts regarding any of the CTF challenges in the CTF, just reach out on Discord on the doubts, or even in general. I'll be online there throughout the day, so don't worry about that. Thanks for coming, and that's pretty much it.